Want to expand the reach of your content? Start a podcast. Feature industry experts on your show and leverage the influence and reach of your guests to grow your brand. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com. Are you trying to establish your brand as a thought leader? Start a podcast. Invite industry experts to be guests on your show and watch your brand become the prime resource for decision makers in your industry. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Hey everybody, Logan with Sweetfish here. Before we get straight into today's interview, I wanted to let you know about another podcast you might enjoy. If you're a regular listener of this show, you'll probably really like the B2B Revenue Executive Experience with Chad Sanderson over at Value Selling Associates. Chad is a good friend of ours here at Sweetfish, a phenomenal podcast host. I really liked one of his older episodes from probably a year back with Todd Capone, the author of The Transparency Sale. Great conversation about leveraging honesty, transparency, and a value-added approach in B2B sales. Check out the B2B Revenue Executive Experience with Chad Sanderson on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you do your listening. All right, now let's really get into the show. Welcome back to B2B Growth. I'm Logan Lyles with Sweetfish Media. I'm joined today by Scott Kooken. He is the president over at Links Unlimited. Scott, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
I hear the weather's better in Cincinnati. You're actually having golfing weather, and we've got 6 inches of snow and single digits out here in Colorado, right?
Well, as long as I can extend the golf season, it's good for me. So
yeah, I hear you there. Well, Scott, we're going to be talking about how to make it very easy for your customers, your vendor partners to engage with you on a number of fronts. And you guys do this really well. And it's a topic that you're passionate about. I think it's going to add a ton of value to listeners today. But before we jump straight to that, I would love for you to give us a little bit of context, some background on yourself and what you and the Links Unlimited team are up to these days.
Yeah, so Links Unlimited, we've been in business for 23 years. Hard to believe, but it has been 23 years. And, it's hard to explain the company. I almost consider ourselves a fulfillment company, as in we fulfill different types of product for different types of industry. And so, of course, the promotional product industry, the loyalty industry, the incentive industry, the event gifting industry, and we even gotten into the 3PL. Our goal is best products, period. And so we believe in the opportunity to provide the best products, period. But when it comes down to it, we are a fulfillment company. And we kind of tote ourselves as the best at it. So
I love it, Scott. So you guys are helping oftentimes event marketers with planning, the gifts around their events and how they're going to engage with folks, right? So that's why both for you guys and for your customers, this idea of easy engagement is something that you're pretty passionate about, right?
Yeah. So we started out in the name Links Unlimited. We started out in the golf industry, and so the goal was to provide golf equipment to the promotional products industry, which is a tough deal because when you think about golf, you got to think about the types of product that you're doing. You're not selling a golf club. One golf club has 60 different SKUs. It has 60 different products that you're selling. And so our goal was to make that easy to put it into these loyalty programs, easy in these incentive programs to manage. Because you're not just offering a right-handed 10.5 degree regular shaft.
Yeah.
You're given the option.
There's several
to the
variables
customer.
in there you got to manage. Yeah, for sure. So,
Correct.
Scott, I love that, hearing a little bit about your background. So let's dive into today's topic on making it easy for customers and really others to engage with you. For others, that might mean vendor partners. It might mean integration partners. It might mean investors. This idea can go a lot of different directions outside your organization. But let's focus on thinking about not just customers, but everyone that you work with. What are some steps you guys have taken, Scott, to create this mentality within your team that, hey, we want to make it easy to engage with us on all fronts, whether you're a customer or someone else who's engaging us from a different angle, maybe?
Yeah. So our business philosophy is to develop a business strategy. And so we believe in that ease of engagement. We believe in the no cookie cutter approach. And so when our salespeople go and talk to a customer, we start off by like, what are you trying to do? What's the goal? How are you trying to accomplish it? What's the end factor? And when you think about that, it's interesting that most companies don't know those answers. And so you really kind of help them work through that process and then develop a program that is going to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. And that's looking at the whole big picture. It's talking about the right product selection. It's talking about the right ordering process. It's talking about the right fulfillment. It's talking about the personalization of the experience. And so there's a lot of programs out there. And I know you've seen them, I've seen them, that whatever you do, the experience is not a good experience. And we believe in looking at that whole picture and developing a process that the goals are accomplished. The experience is a good experience. Your customer, your employee, your vendor, whoever you're trying to influence looks back at that and says, wow, that was a neat thing.
Yeah.
And that's what we look at.
Yeah, you touched on something there, Scott, that I want to camp out on for a second. You mentioned no cookie cutter approach. Do you have some examples there of maybe where there was an engagement with a customer or the way things have been done and you kind of took pause and realized we could make this a better experience. We could make it easier to engage with us if we customize it here. I think some examples there would help other folks kind of visualize, I think we could learn from that scenario or something like that.
Yeah. So, honestly, if you take a look at just an ordering process, so imagine that you were giving all your employees a jacket and the experience of giving that jacket. Well, they got to pick sizes. They got to take a look at that. Or imagine that you were giving you're flying all your employees to an event incentive travel. And so we try to take a look at the ordering process. Product is product. So you're going to give someone a product. How do you make that product personalized? And so we try to take a look at that whole process and personalize that situation. So imagine if you were doing incentive travel and you're bringing your best clients over to a resort destination. 30 days before that experience, we send you out a nice email that says, hey, we're really excited that you're going to join us on this trip. Thank you for all that you've done. Here is a redemption code to go to this website and order a pair of Oakley sunglasses, just to engage that audience before the incentive travel. And so what we try to take a look at is the whole picture. And most of that time, it is on how you manage handing out that product. And it's kind of funny how people will show up in incentive travel or even event gifting, and they go in their room and there is a hat, there's a shirt. It might be the wrong size versus making that a intimate experience, personalized, that someone has the opportunity to choose what they want. And so we try to take a look at the whole picture. Fulfillment's fulfillment. And as long as you have the product and as long as you can fulfill. But we look at how do you engage your employee, your customer, your winner of whatever they're doing, and make that experience personalized.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there because you're talking about not just the delivery, but what is the experience? I heard you mention the term experience several times. And, one of my favorite podcasts lately is another one that we produce from the folks over at BombBomb, the Customer Experience Podcast. And one of the themes I've picked up from that show is that what you're talking about here, Scott, that you look at the experience of the engagement with whatever you're delivering. In this case, it's an item. It could be a pair of sunglasses, a hat, a t-shirt, any number of things. But what's the experience before and after? Looking at what is the customer going through? What is the receiver of this product going through outside of that direct interaction? Are they in a hurry trying to book their travel while getting this? Are you making it easy for them? If you are giving them the options to select a size, do you make it easy for them? So I imagine for your team, it's a lot about asking those questions of, well, when this happens, what's the next step in the experience for the customer, right?
Yeah. And actually, it's not even asking. And most of the times we are telling them. And a lot of people just don't think about it. So there is an incentive, a promotional budget for most companies, and that budget is spent on the product. But no one thinks, I shouldn't say no one, a lot of companies don't think about how to manage that presentation. And even today in the loyalty business, things are getting competitive. And so it's offering kitting, it's offering gift wrapping, it's offering birthday cards. I mean, everything's getting a way that you present to our customers, ways to differentiate yourselves, ways to make sure that the experience is personalized. And at the same point in time, we want to do it with the ease of engagement that doesn't make it hard for our customers.
Yeah, because, a lot of marketers, not even just when it comes to gift giving, but just in general are dealing with this balance of, how do we make this doable? Back to your point of when you have a lot of different products, a lot of different options, that creates a lot of variables, yet, the bland marketing, the bland gifts, the things that aren't personalized. It's like when you walk out of a trade show and you have all these, swag things that are going to get thrown away before you even, make it to your hotel room or, maybe back home after your flight. But those items that are personalized, that are presented well, leave a lasting experience. So I can relate to the stuff that you're talking about and the things that you're doing to make it easy for your customers to engage with you. And Scott, I think a lot of marketers listening to this are going to take some nuggets away from that and apply it from their own situation. Another thing I'd love to have you share before we wrap things up today, Scott, I ask a lot of our guests, what is a learning resource that's got them excited or it's informing their approach lately, whether that is related to today's topic, customer experience, marketing in general, or a personal or professional development resource, a podcast you're listening to, or anything like that you'd like to share with listeners today?
It's interesting. I'm going to answer this question probably the way that you would not want me to answer the question. But Lynx has done a good job of developing our processes without listening to other people. And so we do stuff that people would say is not the right thing to do. We spend money way too much on customers or than we have to. We are, I would say, a competitive priced company, but we also, like I said, look at the big picture. And so me personally, I've been invited to a bunch of business groups. I've had consultants come in and take a look at the company and advise us to do different stuff. And honestly, we are our own company. We do our own thing. We make a lot of mistakes, don't get me wrong, but we learn from those. And but we believe in the long run, we do things right.
Yeah, I love it, Scott. What you're saying there reminds me of a book listeners should definitely check out on this topic of, questioning best practices, not just assuming that, hey, because folks in our industry or companies that look like us or a consultant recommends this as a benchmark or a best practice, we should still question that. And that book I'm talking about is Break the Wheel by Jay Acunzo. Highly recommend people to check that out. It definitely falls in line with what you're talking about there, Scott, of, questioning the advice that you get and really looking at what's the best approach for us to get things done. Scott, this has been a fantastic conversation. If anybody listening to this would like to learn more about Lynx Unlimited or stay connected with you guys, what's the best place for them to reach out?
Yeah, I'd say go to www.lynxunlimited.com. From there, you can touch all of our social media points, our online catalog, and then also learn a little bit more about us.
I love it. Scott, thanks so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.